But unlike Stevie's flat tyre, there were no surprises in the Champions League today, with Real Madrid and Napoli both going through safely to the quarter-finals. The draw, of course, will be made on Friday. We'll kick things off at the Santiago Bernabeu. The hope was that Liverpool could go there, maybe score a couple of early goals, silence the crowd, get things nervous.
Not if you're a Madrid fan.
Well, if from a Liverpool perspective, or maybe from a neutral who wanted a little bit of...
You must have another cliche you can throw in.
A little bit of excitement, but in the end, it was Real Madrid who'd win by 1-0. In fact, Alisson was the man of the match for Liverpool, just showing how dominant the defending champions were. Stevie, I suppose the damage done really at Anfield.
Yeah, it was never really on. Listen,
it could have been on.
Well, coulda, woulda, shoulda.
Yeah, you are.
Well, they could also have lost 4 or 5 today.
Yes.
No, they could have scored 2 or 3 themselves. They had.
Coulda, woulda, shoulda.
Well, exactly. So, what do you want? And we were going to sit here and coulda, woulda, shoulda all day.
Well, let's do it.
The fact is, Liverpool again was showing that Real Madrid really are a step ahead of them right now. Alisson was the man of the match. Yes, Probably not all of the saves he made were down to fantastic goalkeeping, but, you know, some questionable finish from Real Madrid because they had plenty of opportunities. So, yeah, it was never going to happen. It never looked like it happening. And at the end of the day, Liverpool got out of this. What they did was they didn't get embarrassed.
Right.
That's about it. That's about as much as I can come up with.
Good night. Do you know the most interesting thing for me? He's shown his stubbornness again.
They didn't get.
Not football.
They didn't get embarrassed.
No,
I mean,
football.
it doesn't get any lower than that.
No, you haven't listened again. This is a
What did you say?
This is a blue jacket day.
Yep.
You've shown once again. You've shown your.
I've actually got blue through this.
Oh,
blue
blue
shirt
got through that.
This is blue through it.
Oh, yeah, clear.
See, thank you.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, dominating through.
There's not much to say about it, really.
No, there isn't.
I mean,
I
would say, you know, for sure Real Madrid were the more dangerous.
Yeah.
Liverpool had their moments. Real Madrid were the more dangerous. Kind of felt they had another gear or two. Played it perfectly, really. And yeah, I mean, the big question in the end was, you know, could Liverpool go there and not be defeated? Rather than could they go there and score 3 or 4 goals? Just wasn't going to happen.
Real Madrid, of course, continuing this narrative. They turn up for the Champions League. This was as lively as we've seen them since the game at Anfield.
Yeah, and it's a narrative that will continue to gain a whole lot of steam and a whole lot of momentum because we see Real Madrid play in La Liga and it's difficult. Even this past weekend when they beat Espanyol, the first 15 minutes of that game, it was all Espanyol all the time. Real Madrid had to go down 1-0 and then they said, all right, okay, fine, let's play. Today it wasn't like that. And it isn't like that in Champions League. From the very first minute, you see Real Madrid playing at a different intensity, a different urgency, with different type of quality. Yes, there were moments in which Liverpool may have looked dangerous, but on the balance, once Real Madrid got a hold of the ball and got a hold of the momentum of the game, the pace of the game, the rhythm of the game, it was Luka Modric getting involved. It was Toni Kroos getting involved. And then you have Camavinga finding passes forward. Fede Valverde always running back and forth. He himself could have had at least 2 or 3 goals today. Benzema had clear opportunities. Vinicius Jr. always active down the left-hand side. And I don't know if Alexander Arnold feels like he gets headaches defensively because I don't know that he stresses too much about that part of the game. But if he were going to have a headache, it would be today because Vinny Jr. was always willing to get in behind, cutting to the inside, cutting to the outside, a little step over here, another step over there. This is a different version of what we see from Real Madrid on a weekly basis in La Liga. And again, it feeds into that narrative. They care about Champions League. La Liga, not so much.
Well, they've, of course, got Barcelona in a Clásico on Sunday. From a Liverpool perspective, Stevie, what we're at the start of March, they're out of everything.
Yeah, they've just got to try and do the...
Huge failure this season.
100%. I mean, you're talking about going off the edge of a cliff. We're talking about going from something that has never been done in the history of the game that they were going for 8 months ago.
Yep.
To they can't beat anybody, it seems now. I mean, that's a huge drop-off. And if you're Klopp and you're the staff and you're Liverpool fans, you're hoping it's down to just fatigue and the World Cup and just one of those seasons. Now, if it's not, then you've got a problem because you need rebuilding, and I'm not sure the finances there are there to rebuild. And so that would be the biggest worry.
What's been the biggest disappointment for you?
The way they've lost games. You know, any footballer will tell you, you can lose games. Sometimes you're unlucky. Sometimes you don't take your chances. Sometimes the best team doesn't always win. But the amount of times that Liverpool have been completely and utterly outplayed by some average teams, that's the biggest disappointment.
The worry is what the Fenway Sports Group want to do with the sale of the club. Whether they want to, I think they want to keep an involvement in it. Who are they going to sell it to? The major stake. There's a Qatari investment fund firm, whatever you want to call it, reportedly going to buy Man United. They're going to pump money in. We've already seen what's happening at Chelsea, albeit shambolic at the moment, but at least there's finance. City, you know, obviously they spend and they've got all these charges, but what if they don't get the Champions League? What if the sale is to somebody who's, or to an investment firm or a company or individual that's a little bit more coy about it? I mean, it's a good core of players, but then you're trusting that what happens is what Stevie says, is that potentially they get rebooted next year and this almost same bunch go again and are better. Because it doesn't look as if they're going to go out and spend like the other clubs in this division, and that's going to be difficult.
It's tricky when you think of a reboot, maybe it's a bit of a rest over the summer, come back fresh. But you look at that starting 11 and look at the quality that's there. Of course, collectively, they've been such a good team with the likes of Salah playing out of their skin. But when he's not, they're in trouble.
Yeah, I think Stevie was talking about what's most disappointing about this club. And obviously, I don't have the ties to this club that Stevie does, but I would say this. The drop-off of Liverpool has been very steep. Think about who they were and what they were playing for at this time last season. And usually, when a team has a drop-off, it doesn't happen this quickly. It doesn't happen not only this quickly, but to see the difference of what they were and what they are. That the standard, utilizing Stevie's words, they didn't get embarrassed. That's the standard for a team that was just in Champions League final just last season.
Yeah. Right?
And so that's why the natural tendency will be to think, no, okay, these are still good players. So it has to be a reboot. We're just a couple of pieces away. The danger is that drop-off has been steep for too many players. Not only as a group, but for too many individuals. And can they get that level back? That is a big gamble to take.
I think the biggest thing we'll find out will be at the start of next year, because it's difficult for us when we just see Liverpool playing game to game. And you started the question to Ali by, well, that looks like a strong team. Unfortunately, when you look at that on paper, you're thinking about all of those players at their best. Now, there's no way possible that those players are training as well as they were previously. It's not a case of training well and then for some reason they're turning up on game day.
Right.
So Klopp and his staff will know better than anybody else who's tired and who's done.
Right.
And that's the biggest thing. Who's tired and who's done? Who needs replacing? And only they will know.
And the problem is, if there is this pot of gold for Klopp to spend in the summer, you can't offer the players coming in Champions League football. You can't necessarily say to them, we're going to be title contenders. That has kind of shifted as well, hasn't it, with this season?
A little bit, but then you're coming in off the back of a manager who's had success and has been there and done it.
You think the World Cup, we were talking about Bellingham going to Liverpool. Like, why would he go to Liverpool now?
I don't see that unless he's got a huge desire to play for the club. I see him going to Real Madrid, to be honest with you. And why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
But if you look at the side, they've got Diaz to come back into that front line. I don't think the front line, looking at the players, is a major headache.
Sure.
I think Nunez, a year down, another few months down the line, has already shown that there's potential to go a full season. We can throw our hat up about Fabinho and don't know what way it's going to come down. What we do know is Alexander-Arnold isn't going to be a good defender next year. It's just not going. It's not going to be summer. Alexander-Arnold's a good defender. The other variable is Van Dijk,
which is a variable these days.
Yeah, and Is he going to step up to the level he was? Is he going to show the leadership that he had? And are they going to find a partner, regular partner for him, that brings his confidence back out again? You certainly can't keep relying on people like Henderson and particularly James Milner, who has played a gazillion games. I mean, he'll come in and play right back and do a job. So there are some holes to fill. I just don't know how much money there is to do it.
I don't think, yes, it would be nice to go and get a Bellingham. But I think the way for Liverpool is not to be going and signing somebody who's 120 million or, the signing of Van Dijk and Alisson was the icing on the top, because the reason the Liverpool team was built on younger players who had not yet reached the potential.
Right.
And so that's the way they have to go. Liverpool if they don't get the Champions League, somebody like Bellingham's not going to go anyway. And I don't think Liverpool have the money or interested in spending, as I said, 120 million. So it's down to going and getting your people like Salah's when you got them.
Sadio
Mane's.
Right.
All of these players. That's how Liverpool get back to where they want to be. Because it ain't going to be splashing out hundreds of millions. It's not.
Meanwhile, the only goal of the game was scored by Karim Benzema, whose record in the knockout stage of the Champions League is quite phenomenal. Not only that, but coupled with the opposition that he's scored against. Liverpool, Manchester City, Chelsea, PSG. It's quite something, isn't it, that he steps up. Today obviously was an easy goal, but coupled with what we've seen over recent months, recent years with Benzema, it's not to be unexpected.
No, and if you didn't know this about Karim Benzema, that the guy scores goals, then where have you been? Now, the truth about Karim Benzema is that his most outstanding performance was late in the last year's run for Real Madrid in Champions League. Today wasn't nearly the best version of Karim Benzema. In fact, he probably could tell you that I probably had 2 or 3 goals in me and missed the chances. But based upon the importance of this player for Real Madrid, he is the first man on that starting lineup for Carlo Ancelotti. And he is the one guy that they cannot afford to have missing big games. He changes their personality in the attack. He is their attack. The flexibility that he gives this team and how that relationship that was not there in the beginning has now developed between him and Vinicius Jr. make this team such a dangerous group, certainly in transition through Vinicius Jr., but when the build-up, Karim Benzema is the one that finds the spaces, and he's the outlet. Modric and Toni Kroos and Fede Valverde, they'll give you something. But once they get into that final third, the outlet is Karim Benzema. He makes the decisions, he makes his team go, and he, of course, scores the big goals as well for them.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.